Hey coin collectors, it's DC on the Big D, and we have the 1964 Jefferson United States nickels here today. And not a whole lot of varieties from 1964, but I'd like to look through them and then talk to you about how you might find a valuable one and what you might look for. There are plenty of double die obverse varieties, both from the Denver Mint and the Philadelphia Mint. And if you're a double die collector, then this is not a bad year to look for them. It turns out that a lot of times there's a lot more double dies in the years where they just rush through coins. In 1964 was one of those years. We see on this one here, this is where the mint marks are on these coins on the back over here. And there's no mint mark there, so that means it's a Philadelphia coin. In this one we see that this is a D mint mark, and this is a Denver mint coin. So when you're looking for these, 1964 in Denver, they made 1.8 billion. In Philly, they made a little over 1 billion. So about 2.8 billion of these were made. And remember, 1964 was the last year before they took the mint marks off the coins. And so they just made it as many as they possibly could. How much different was it? Well, in 1965, they made about 135 million nickels. In 1964, they made almost 3 billion, 2.8 billion nickels. So it was just a huge difference. So they poured all of them into 64. And in fact, not only did they pour them all into 64, but they kept making the 64s in 1965, especially the Denver Mint. That's why you have such a high number, 1.8 billion at the Denver Mint. NGC, which is a coin grading service, estimates that as many as 66% of all Denver nickels that say 1964 on them were made in 1965. All right, let's take a look at the nickel. It's Jefferson. He's facing to the left. It says, "In God we trust," in front of Jefferson. It says, "Liberty," behind Jefferson. These coins first came out on Jefferson's 200th birthday, which was 1938. Not to be confused with the quarters, which first came out on Washington's birthday, which was 1932. So in 1938, he came out with the Jefferson nickel. It replaced the Buffalo nickel, or the nickel which had the Indian or American, Native American on the front and the buffalo on the back. It says, "In God we trust," in front of Jefferson, "Liberty," behind him. Is a star there between Liberty and the date, and then the date's down here. Now, here's something that you should notice also, and that is in 1964, they still had not put on the FS underneath Jefferson. So Felix Schlag, who was the engraver of this coin, has an FS here on the modern coins. You can see that FS there, and that did not come, I think, until 1969 or so. So there's an FS for Felix Schlag, but they did not have that from 1938 until they put it on in the late 60s. If you are looking for some varieties of these coins, NGC and PCGS, which is the other grading service, say there are some at the MS68 level, but there aren't that many. And that's because they just rushed through them. When you make billions and billions of coins and just try to punch them out as fast as you can, you make a lot of mistakes. So that's why you have the obverse coins, but you also don't make that many good ones. So if you want to look for an MS68 from the Denver Mint, you might not be able to find one. If you do find one, it's going to be $2,000 plus. If you want to look for an MS68 from the Philadelphia Mint, you may be able to find one because PCGS has graded a couple of those, and the PCGS has graded a couple and at about at 67 or 67 plus, so you still may not be able to find one. In the 67 or 67 plus from PCGS it might be worth a couple $1,000s. All right, so what's this one worth here? Well, one of the things you always need to look for on these is the steps. This is one of the few ones that you can see steps on at all. Look at that. So if you get this in, if you get this coin, you may never see steps if you look through the used ones. That's what the steps look like. They just don't. You just can't find any, and that's because not because they necessarily wore. It's also because they just, even the brand new ones when they put them on, and the mid-state ones don't have full steps on them. So you're just not going to see. You get a few steps like that. That's one of the better views of the coin that you're going to find. So in 1964, they did make 3.9 million mint sets. And so there is a nickel, I'm sorry, yeah, 3.9 million, almost 4 million mint sets. And so there is a nickel in those mint sets. So that's where I'd look. Get a 1964 mint set. It's probably going to cost you, though, about $20 for the mint set from 1964. And that's where you'll have your best chance of finding some steps if you're looking for them. Have a great day. From Big D Coins, this is DC saying, please subscribe to the channel and leave any comments you might have in the comments section.